Good morning. My name is Michael Whatley, and I will be speaking on mental illness in a speech entitled Disorder, Not Disease. Did you know that the words crazy and insane don't exist in APA Dictionary of Psychology? Have you ever heard of drapetomania? Well, drapetomania was derived from two Greek words, one meaning a runaway slave, the other signifying mad or crazy. This mental disorder of slaves had one defining characteristic. The sufferer had an unconscionable desire to abscond from his or her owner. I bet you didn't know that wanting to escape slavery was once considered a mental disorder. It's okay. I didn't always know, just as we didn't always know the world was round. So, why am I credible to speak on this topic? I had been diagnosed with mental illness at 22 years old, but also was a double major in communication and psychology with 88 credits before dropping out of college, having my first mental health crisis. This is me 3 months before my mental health crisis, on the front page of the Metro section of the Washington Post. This is my transcript from Tennessee State University, double major in communication psychology, student ID. This is a letter from President Obama response in 2016. So, are you mentally ill? Have you ever had extreme fear or worry? Well, that falls in the category of a type of anxiety disorder. Did you know that feeling sad, irritable, empty, or hopeless about the future is categorized as depression? How about the combination of depression symptoms alternating with increased activity or energy or other symptoms such as increased talkativeness, racing thoughts, increased self-esteem, decreased need for sleep, distractibility, and impulsive, reckless behavior? Did you know that's labeled as bipolar? I believe I struggle with PTSD now. Anytime someone calls me the name Mike, it takes me back to 19 years old, where the seed of my mental health crisis began to grow. When I was in 11th grade and confirmed a Catholic, my pet to God was to not kill a childhood friend of mine by their name, who I met playing Pee-wee football. A mutual friend of ours told me they seen him selling the Xbox 360 that was stolen from my grandma's house. I forgave Mike, but after graduating from high school during the summer of 2008, I stopped Mike from robbing two of my friends. A few hours later that day, I ended up at gunpoint with him holding a gun to me, threatening to kill me. I told him to shoot me, but he didn't. I began to evaluate life differently and ended up leaving the streets alone and going to college. I didn't want to be in an environment where I couldn't legally protect myself. The thought of hanging in the streets and not being able to have a gun legally made it easy for me to leave home. Felt like it was kill or be killed. But I was fortunate enough to have the option to go to college. The purpose of my speech is to persuade you that mental illness is not permanent, and in some cases can be prevented. Leaving the streets wasn't an easy transition. I was used to hustling, having money, at least enough for a teenager, having sex, having unlimited marijuana, and enjoying life. But here I am today. After 17 years of celibacy and 5 years of total abstinence of sex while incarcerated, I really learned self-control and patience. I feel way better now that I have found a career that fits me. I always have money now, and my options are unlimited and continue to grow as I gain financial freedom. I've learned to focus on the things that are in my control. It's stated that people who are exposed to adverse circumstances, including poverty, violence, disability, and inequality, are at higher risk of developing mental health disorders, according to the World Health Organization, 2025. I've been poor all my life, exposed to violence, disabled temporarily with one shoulder for a whole year, and have been the victim of inequality, including unfair treatment, including being falsely convicted at the age of 25, gaining my first conviction. The point is that taking medication is not what healed my mental disorder. Medication does not make me money, does not protect me, does not get me girls, does not put food on my table, or bring me any type of peace or happiness. But everyone's circumstances are different though, and some mental health disorders can't be fixed. First, let's define mental disorder. Mental disorder is defined as any condition characterized by cognitive and emotional disturbances, abnormal behaviors, impaired functioning, or any combination of these, according to American Psychological Association. I want to highlight some key facts about mental disorders that I found on the World Health Organization's website. It stated that 1 out of 8 people in the world live with a mental disorder. Mental disorders involve significant disturbances in thinking, emotional regulation, or behavior, but effective prevention and treatment options exist. My personal experience involved therapy, learning mindfulness techniques such as coping, meditating, and breathing exercises. I also was medicated, but not by choice, and I don't believe it helped in any type of way. I mentioned that I believe I struggle with PTSD, but what is PTSD exactly? PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. The World Health Organization states that it may develop following exposure to an extremely threatening or horrific event or series of events. It is characterized by all of the following. 1, re-experiencing a traumatic event or events in the present, intrusive memories, flashbacks, or nightmares. 2, avoidance of thoughts and memories of the events, or avoidance of activities, situations, or people reminiscent of the event. And 3, persistent perceptions of heightened current threat. Every time someone calls me Mike, I re-experience the beginning of my mental health crisis. I think about my beef with Mike. I think about why I dropped out of college. I think that people think I'm someone else. Now I avoid hanging in the streets, and I don't like having other men around me if it's not business. That's my diagnosis of self. But my actual diagnosis is schizoaffective bipolar type, a mixture of schizophrenia and bipolar. I touched on bipolar disorder being mixed emotional downs and highs, but what is schizophrenia? The World Health Organization states that schizophrenia is characterized by significant impairments in perception and changes in behavior. Symptoms may include persistent delusions, hallucinations, disorganized thinking, highly disorganized behavior, or extreme agitation. People with schizophrenia may experience persistent difficulties with cognitive function. Notice I said may. A range of effective treatment options exist, including medication, psychoeducation, family interventions, and psychosocial rehabilitation. Personally, I agree. When someone called me Mike for the first time at 19 years old, I thought he was the police. I used to create theories about why I didn't have the same luck with women, why my YouTube views were frozen. I thought people were trying to set me up and trying to kill me. I began thinking I had immunity, that it was slavery, and even thought it was because I'm not gay. After turning 25 years old, I found out I didn't have immunity. And after turning 27, I found out it wasn't because I'm not gay. And I snapped. I started shooting at drug dealers, and I crashed out not being able to cope with reality. Incarceration helped me gain mental stability. It helped me quit smoking weed and drinking. It helped me evaluate my life and my future. Awareness of mental health is important. Therapy is very helpful to me personally and allows me to communicate with someone without judgment. Keeping pain, anxiety, and your problems bottled causes tension and frustration. 3 facts that stood out to me about mental health disorders given from the National Alliance of Mental Illness are that just like any major illness, mental illness is not the fault of the person who has a mental condition. It is caused by environmental and biological factors, not a result of personal weakness. A stressful job or home life makes some people more susceptible, as do traumatic life events like being a victim of a crime. Everyone has different treatment needs. There's no one right way to recovery, and mental health issues are not always lifelong disorders. Stay focused. Thank you.